Hello, my name is Rusty Coons, and I have with me Frederick Harrell, motorcyclist, rights advocate. He's been with the MRF forever. He's been riding since way back, and I mean way back in the 60s. We're going to talk about that. And the man knows more about the law when it comes to motorcycle legislation than probably anybody I've ever talked to. He's a great advocate for bikers' rights. He's dedicated his life to it, and I'm just glad to have you here. How you doing there, Fred?
Doing great. Thanks, Rusty. Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to this interview. Uh, know we've had a couple of hiccups, but we're cool.
Right on, man. I'm really glad to have you here, man. And I need you to impart some of that knowledge on some of the riding public here. And you guys are, like you've said in your own literature, you're the best kept secret. You guys are out there. I mean, the reason we don't have some of these far reaching laws that are out there is because of guys like you that have been working it for many, many years. I mean, you guys are out walking in the halls of Congress. You know, that's a serious thing, man. I wish more people were doing what you guys are doing. You know what I
So do
mean?
we. So do we.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we can get more support for you.
I hope so. I really do. It's I jokingly say I bought my last motorcycle. Well, hey, there's a lot of younger guys behind me. They got to come in and step up.
Yeah, man. And we need to get those guys there. And another thing, I feel that it's not just Harley Davidsons, man. We got the sport bikes, we got the motocross guys, we got the dirt, all of them, and they're all affected by legislation in one way or another. I think we
Yes.
really need to get everybody together.
Yeah. And it's people tend to put themselves into cubby holes, niches, and the next thing you know, I can't talk to that guy because he's not as cool as me.
Yeah,
And
right.
and pretty soon you painted yourself out of the whole picture.
Exactly, man. We really need to see events, swap meets, shows, and everything where biking in general comes together. You know what I mean? And you've got vendors from every walk of life in motorcycles of every type showing up there, and they're bringing all their fans with them, and people get together and hang out and have a great time. But at the same time, you can have like a conference hall close by. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Where you guys get together and you chop it up about all the important issues that are going on in all the states.
And I don't know. I mean, looking back on all these years that I've been involved in this, it's I don't know if Civics 101 is taught like it was when I was in high school.
Isn't that?
Uh, it seems to be a drop off in we can do what we do, but I don't know how a bill becomes a law. I don't know. I can talk to my legislature. Wow, that's way above my pay grade. Hey, they
Yeah.
put their pants on the same way we do, one leg at a time. And
Well,
and
yeah,
if you
yeah,
you grasp that quickly, wham, it's amazing just how many doors you can open if you have an attitude. They have two answers: yes or no, and you just
yeah.
go for it. I mean, you've had no told you a million times by your parents and God knows how many girls. You just say, hey, it's a yes or no.
Yeah, and you know what? The people that work behind those doors, those congressmen and senators and all those people, they work for us.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? And
And
they're just people.
you
And
know, we,
you know,
we see that we see that when we do two events a year. One of them is Bikers Inside the Beltway. We go to Washington D.C. in May. We have appointments. This year was probably our most successful. We went to all 535 offices of Congress and left MRF literature there, and so they know who we are. We have to take that same attitude out to 8.6 million owners of registered motorcycles in the world,
that's
in the
right.
country.
That's right. Get the people woke up on the same page. They become a large constituency with a voice,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and
and
that's where it needs to be.
yeah, and it's part of it. We're on news cycles that are 24/7. We're on instant news or instant gratification, and this takes a little bit longer. You're spending time in Congress. You're educating not only motorcyclists, you're educating members of Congress as well. So you're not going to get immediate gratification on this stuff. And it's just, it's working. And, you know, I never plan to stay in this stuff as long as I have.
Yeah, I read what you wrote about that. You thought you were going to be in and out, you know, get the job done,
Get the job
take the
done one
hill,
session of
and then
Congress, and I'm
go
out of
kick
here.
back, and
Yeah,
you never
yeah.
got the rest.
Never, hey, never got it. Just you're just there. You just it doesn't go away. And it I never thought it would be that way. I thought we had one issue back in when we started this.
Well,
Anyway,
even if you did, there's all these other new issues. You know what I
correct.
mean?
And they just
It'll
kept
never
coming up.
be.
They just kept coming up.
Yeah. So look, while we're talking about that, let's go back to the beginning, all the way back to the 60s when you first got on two wheels. I want to hear a little bit about that.
I got out of the Army in '67, and one, didn't know what I was going to do. I mean, my background in the Army was uh, nuclear firing position acquisition. Okay, it was in Germany, up on the East German and Czechoslovakian border, and we were tactical nukes. And you know, how do you apply that to a civilian life? Well, I know what I really want to do is get on a motorcycle. And I hadn't been out 2 weeks. I found I was in Colorado at the time. Got a 64 police special. In less than 3 weeks, it was on a rigid frame. A paint job that you know, okay, fine, it'll do. And wham, I'm riding the Rockies. No leather jacket, no real boots.
Hey, well, Fred, I got to interrupt you for a second. So you took the stock bagger and you put it in a rigid immediately, right? Which I've seen a million times, right?
That's what you did.
All those parts that everybody wants, they all went in the trash,
Oh,
right?
hey, I gave him the guy I was getting the rigid frame stuff from. You know, what does he do with them? He probably hang them on a wall. He's probably sold them 100 times on eBay now, or his grandkids have. So you know, you just did that because that was a cool thing to do. I mean, you know,
we all did.
No, I wanted to ride. So I didn't rake the front end. I just used that old wide glide front end on a rigid frame, and I did put. I had a guy that was pretty good machinist. He taught me. I mean, later on, I came back to work for him, but he put a set of juice brakes on a rigid frame in 1967. Okay, I mean that was pretty high tech.
Yeah, you were rolling, man.
We were high tech stuff. So I rode to Louisiana by myself. Didn't know anybody in Louisiana. Went to work in the oil field, and in 6 months, I was making loads of money and offshore. And I not only had the 64, I had a new 67. So I had two bikes, okay? And I still have the 67. I sold the 64 to move out here after I graduated from college, but it was clubs were starting everywhere back then. I mean, this is after the movies. Everybody, we're gonna start a motorcycle club. And so I rode with a bunch of guys in New Orleans. And then, you know, somewhere along the line, I said, you know, this oil field money is fun, but I can't imagine getting old in this stuff. You're gonna get old quick. And so I used the GI Bill, got admitted to Colorado State, and okay, fine. Now I'm a college graduate. What am I going to do? I'm still a motorcyclist. I had the only Harley registered at CSU with Louisiana plates. I mean, they thought I was a redneck from hell. I'm up there. Okay, I sort of look like a hippie because my hair was growing longer, and so I kind of fit in. But then they see the bike with the Louisiana plates, and they say, "Oh man, here's a redneck. We can't talk to him." And you know, that's kind of, it was fun. Anyway, I moved out here to Vegas in '72, and have been here ever since. And never. Wow. I mean, Vegas was a small place in '72. Population of the county was about 500,000. I mean, it's 2 million now. So the biker community was small. So pretty soon, I mean, it was like I grew up here. I was 26, And I mean, there's guys now that I've known for 50 years. That I mean, we all grew old together, grew up riding, partying, and about 75, some guys said, this federal helmet law that they passed in '69 is we're fighting it in Congress. They didn't know that I'd been to college. My wife was a school teacher. They thought she was a smart one. Okay, she married a biker dude. Okay, fine. We'll ask her if maybe she has some school teacher stuff she could tell us. And I'm involved. Okay, the first time we meet was at a bike shop in a little alley in Vegas, and the police busted. I mean, they come in there, they take cameras, take the film, and all we're doing is gathering up to start a protest against the helmet law. And I mean, wow, what the hell is this? I mean, why are they busting this up? This was, I mean, a lawful assembly, the whole thing. We didn't know shit. And anyway, we see one of the senators from Nevada, and he says, I'm on this. Okay. Well, there was a group of guys, and there were a couple of them are still active. One guy, Sherman Packard, is the Speaker of the House of New Hampshire now. Okay. So some of us kind of went above our pay grade at the time, and it was I still see him, but he was instrumental in getting this federal legislation off back to the states. Then the states started repealing helmet laws. California never had one at the time, and it was up to the states. And I figured, okay, we go to the state legislature here. One session, it's down and done. Okay, Nevada has never repealed its helmet law. Got everything else is legal here in Nevada in one way or the other. Still fought. There was a belief that we would end up just like the movies, and we can't, the movies from the '60s. We can't have that in Nevada. I mean, they'll take over towns, and they will run off with our women, and they eat our dogs and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so anyway, we kept working, and every year we're going back to the legislature. By '75, about 20 states had repealed, or by '85, 20 states had repealed their helmet laws.
Wow.
And it was kind of there was not a lot of communication between the small groups of motorcyclist rights advocates around the country. And there was a guy named Mike Faribaugh, Balls, from Indiana, pulled together what later became the MRF, called the meeting of the minds. Okay, and it was an interesting meeting. There was about 100 of us met in a cheap motel in St. Louis. I mean, half of us stood with our backs along the wall, and I mean, a couple of women in the audience. They sat down, had to make notes. I mean, this is straight up out of a '60s movie. They're making notes. No workshops, no real presentation. Russ Brown was there. He had a guy's name was Bill Durning. He was Russ's right-hand guy, and he became part of the steering committee. That steering committee evolved into what we called a motorcycle rights fund. That was the beginning of the MRF. And then it evolved into Motorcycle Riders Foundation. And we were able to collect, by 1987, we were able to collect enough money and fund a guy to go to DC. There was a guy in DC he says, I'll share offices with him. He was a motorcyclist guy. I'm not sure who he represented. His name was Howard Segamart, great guy. And he had an office. So we send our first lobbyist, his name was Wayne Curtin. He goes to DC. I mean, he probably lived off ramen and coffee. And we were able to just fund him and struggle through. The first was trying to reinstate a federal helmet law. That was our first big fight. Okay, we got to get somebody to DC representing real street motorcyclists. Okay, and then by '89 and '90, they're trying to outlaw sport bikes. They're trying to pass legislation that says, federal legislation that said if you were a member of a motorcycle club, it was automatically considered a gang. Insurance companies were blacklisting sport bikes. We fought all that stuff, and it kind of from a group of people that didn't think they were going to be in it very long, it's evolved into what a national organization that is respected and recognized in Congress. I mean, the Motorcycle Riders Foundation has, it's been through some trials and tribulations, but under fire, we have held up and we've stayed true to our mission, and that's to protect the future of motorcycling and motorcyclists' rights.
Well, the other thing that I like that you just brought up is you guys actually did a huge benefit to the sport bike world.
Yeah.
But the thing is that for many, many years, it's kind of been a whole separate culture. You know what I mean?
I would say out of our membership, I don't think I'd be exaggerating if I said that 95% of us rode Harleys.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you look back at the first advocacy groups, even in California, when the Attorney General of California, I think his name was Robert Lynch or Lynch something, he passed the Lynch law, and basically it was to outlaw one motorcycle club. It was targeted Hell's Angels because that's what we're going to do. And the advocacy that came out of that target by Lynch helped form the Modified Motorcycle Association, the MMA in California,
right.
And they were instrumental in California at that time keeping the helmet law out of California. Okay, when the federal law passed, there was only 3 states that did not have helmet laws: California, Utah, and I believe Illinois. Utah had you had to wear a helmet if it was over 35 miles an hour. Okay, you didn't have to wear it in town. But California, they lost highway funds, but they held the line. But it was about 90%, 95% of us were Harley riders, and the sport bike culture was coming up at the time. And when we sat down and looked at this, it wasn't like we can't fight that because it doesn't have anything to do with helmet laws, doesn't have anything to do with Harleys. No, it has everything to do with trying to outlaw motorcycling, a segment of motorcycling. And the line was drawn. We held it. We held it against the gang bill, they called it. A senator said, we're going to target motorcycle clubs. And before that ever got to a vote, he pulled it because we went and talked to him. I mean, and this isn't guys in Armani suits and Gucci shoes. This is guys that may put on a clean white shirt and polish their riding boots. And we were able to get to him, and he says, I didn't think this out. I mean, those weren't his words, but pretty much paraphrasing, I didn't think this out. And he pulled it. And the insurance companies backed away from their blacklisting of sport bikes. And it was, it made sense for us to stand there and deliver this protecting motorcycling and promoting motorcyclist rights.
Yeah. So with registrations across the United States, you mentioned 7 or 8 million registered riders?
8.6 million registered street motorcycles in the U.S.
Okay. Do you have a breakdown of the type of riders or bikes?
Based on sales, and that covers everything that's registered. Okay, and it could be everything from a 50cc up to a 114. So based on sales, the Harley has about 50+% of the big twins. I think 750 and up is where the break off is, and then down from there is Honda, Yamaha, Kawasaki, right on down to BMW, Ducati, and all. So Harley became the darling of the industry in the 80s. I mean, they brought out the Evo. Malcolm Ford talks it up. Everybody's
Right.
riding a Harley. There's lines to buy them. And, we thought, and this is, you know, we thought that with the rejuvenation of the Harley motorcycle culture, uh, that we would see an uptick in the growth of motorcyclist rights advocates. Uh, Nothing changed. We still, I mean, yeah, we grew a little bit. Yeah, that's interesting. But you guys are going to do that anyway. Well, yeah, because we believe as an advocate for motorcyclist rights, the future of motorcycling. Yeah, I could do it anyway. However, it helps when I have, instead of five guys behind me, I got 5,000 or 100,000,
Yeah.
or or everybody that owns a motorcycle license or a motorcycle is right there and sends a voice when we do a call to action. Wham! We light up the internet, phones, and everything else. We become a force to be reckoned with.
Yes.
We don't have the Second Amendment.
And
We're just
all
motorcycles.
types of bikes, not,
Yeah, all
sport
types.
bikes, touring bikes, Harley
You
Davidsons, everything,
everything,
all
everything.
united.
And it's maybe I am sort of a 60s, still a 60s idealist. I mean, I grew up growing up in the South. You see some interesting things as you grow up, and then it all changes. My dad was career military, so I had two cultures that sometimes worked against each other. I mean, the military was totally integrated, but when I went home, it was totally segregated. Okay, I mean,
Exactly.
almost,
Yeah.
yeah. And so you get exposed to open ideas, different ways of thinking. And as a college student, I never did one paper on motorcycling, not one. I mean, it was just something I did for fun. I mean, this doesn't seem like it's there's nothing here of interest to anybody. Just move along. I'm gonna, I'll find something else. My whole focus, I mean, was the music industry. Okay, and at that time they were doing they were fighting on recorded music, individual recording, and copyrights. I mean, it was real easy back then. This was before you could just download stuff off the internet. I mean,
Yeah.
but they were talking bootleg records, all of that stuff.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
and yeah, and that's where I was, and did a lot of research on that. Never thinking that I wasn't. I mean, I didn't even have any background in music. I just liked it, but it just seemed there wasn't anything really in motorcycling that says, you need to study the politics of motorcycling.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm glad you stumbled onto it. You've been doing a
Thank
lot of
you.
work for all of us.
Thank you. Thank you.
But let's move on to. I want to get into some of the nuts and bolts of these issues you're dealing with right now. And
Okay.
at the top of that list is profiling.
Yeah.
Can you break that down a little bit for everybody here?
It's been, we can go back into probably the 30s, coming out all up through, certainly after the 50s. You got Hollister, that's always a benchmark. Then you've got the movies, and you always saw we're just going to check, let me see your papers, where you're going, who you're with. And it became in some states it barely exists. Some cities it barely exists.
Sure.
Other states, it's a they use this as it's a control factor. One, they set up roadblocks at both ends of the street. Got a club doing an event. Wham! You're stopped. ID check. You got any tattoos? Who you're going with? Who you associate with? And it is totally discriminatory. Okay.
Yeah.
And it was at first with there's a motorcycle profiling project. Guy named Double D.
Yeah.
I think
He's good.
okay.
He's good.
He started that. Well, at first it was believed that profiling was aimed at nothing but clubs. Well, after we started, I think they got way over 10,000 hits on the motorcycle profiling project. Uh, it's more than clubs. It's
Oh
everybody.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
everybody. Okay,
Yeah.
and all of these groups are seeing, damn, I got profiled. I mean, why are they doing this? And it is one. Um, I think part of it is uh, their budget money comes from these kind of stops. It's a control thing. Uh, Motorcyclists, especially club members, are not. They're pretty out there. It's not on in a car. You got a patch on the back of your jacket, da 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 da, and they can see you with ease. However, it's always been about controlling the money. Club can't do a fundraiser, can't do a toy run. We don't want you guys congregating. And it was, I mean, from that first bus that we had organizing in Nevada to do what are we going to do? We're going to go to the legislature. And there probably wasn't 50 people there. And four squad cars show up and they're taking film. And that was basically an attempt to control somebody that they didn't like, didn't know anything about. And profiling is became it became a top priority with the Motorcycle Riders Foundation. And as a result of, we have a part of our board is a club liaison. Okay. He's a member of a motorcycle club. He's really active. He's one of the ones that got me back involved. And he has reached out uh, all over the country and has shown that the MRF is serious about ending profiling. This is how serious we are. In December, no, last July, we met with Congresswoman Susie Lee from Nevada. And this was a long shot meet. We had met with her, I think, 2 years before that in Washington, D.C. And I was amazed that she looked up from our position papers, looked up to the end of the table to her legislative assistant and says, "Why aren't I on these?" And the top of the list was anti-profiling. Okay, and it went right on down. Well, last year we met with her sometime last summer, and she says, uh, you know, uh, I'd really like to do something for you guys. And I said, really? And how about this? You're on the appropriations committee. This was kind of a joint, we both kind of said it. And why don't you see if you can get this language into an appropriations bill? Okay, the anti-profiling language. Okay, she did. Okay, she did. And in December, in the waning days of Congress last December, that language was in the uh, uh, the mega bill that the president signed three days before the end of the session, or right there at the end of the session. Profiling is now in that language, and it's part of that funding law. Okay, the language is there. Our resolutions. We had a resolution in the Senate. We had a resolution in the House. Our language is in there. Okay, now adding to that, we um, reached out to, through a member of Congress, sent a letter to National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the DOT, among others, and said, we need to know what you're doing as far as funding and encouraging profiling of motorcyclists in that was part of the language in there. I mean, I'm sort of paraphrasing, but anyway, they, this congressional committee put the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration on notice. They put the DOT on notice, and somewhere they're going to have to come back and sit down and give us a position on what they're doing, how they're spending money on profiling, how they're not spending money on profiling, because I believe that, issues come and go. This is an issue that goes to the core of motorcycling and what we consider a freedom that we enjoy. If you're stopped at every little town or going into every event as a motorcyclist, that's discrimination. And I find it strange that none of the large groups that have fought discrimination they never jumped out and got onto this. Maybe it's just because we're a bunch of old bikers. I don't know. It's okay. It's okay. We did it. We got this language into, what, $1 trillion funding bill or whatever. It's up there. And we did it because we stayed true to the course. The clubs were there going, as we had bikers inside the Beltway, the clubs showed up. They're making appointments with members of Congress, and we got our message across. And that's how it's not over. What we have now is, if your state motorcyclist rights organization, California, you have a BATE and MMA has come back. If profiling is a problem in California, these groups have to take that to the state legislature. We've sent a message from Washington, D.C. that this is unacceptable behavior. Now, the state organizations have to say to the state legislature, this is unacceptable behavior and we want it stopped. And I believe they got the message. I don't know if it was cart before the horse, but it was putting the word out that the MRF is not messing around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look, we got to cover a couple more topics. I know that's a real important one. I wanted to cover that.
It is. There's a lot of things to do with motorcycling, but I think that sends a message not only to the club members in the United States and maybe around the world, they can see this, but it also sends a message to the independent riders as well, because with this motorcycle profiling project, they're being profiled just as much and more so than clubs. So we can.
So what would be the next most important issue you're dealing with right now?
I worry, and our board worries, autonomous vehicles that are, automatic pilot, whatever they're called by their name, people getting in them, and I call it beta testing vehicles on public roadways without a real training. You want this car, you think you can get behind the wheel, not touch the wheel, read the paper, talk on your cell phone, and the car is going to drive itself. Well, there is, if you read, I think we did a press release, an individual who was a safety officer with the NHTSA says that if you ride a motorcycle, you do not want to be next to a Tesla. They call Tesla out. We use that in our press release because there's something about object recognition with the Teslas. They have 3 motorcyclists were killed last summer. EMTs have been hit. Police officers on the side of the road have been hit, and there's something in the algorithms of their eyes of the vehicle is not recognizing. That's up there on the issues.
Right.
Ethanol 15 is it's a fuel additive. We're not going to stop them from making it. Okay, there's a belief that it's going to be cheaper. It's going to be, we don't need fossil fuels. However, ethanol 15 kills small engines, small being motorcycles in size and down, because it eats the O-rings. And all we want them is to post this at the pumps and say, ethanol 15. Anything containing ethanol 15 could be harmful to your engine. Give people a warning. We're not going to stop it. That's universal. any motorcycle, I mean, unless they come up with a new way to make O-rings, it's going to eat O-rings. So
That's expensive. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, rebuild an engine. I mean,
Yeah.
I believe in the owner's manual. No, in the owner's manual of Harley Davidson, it says if you're using fuel with anything more than E10, it could void your warranty. So, I mean, you end up putting that in there, unbeknownst. Wham, what do? I mean, you're just killing your engine. Chainsaws, boats, lawnmowers, all of this stuff. And again, you would think that there would be a rush for getting support. I don't know. It puzzles me that here's something that's going to kill your motorcycle. Here's something that's going to kill your ability to ride and socialize. All of these things point to motorcycling is under attack, I mean, it almost sometimes they think I'm harping. My guys think I'm harping, but it's real. I mean,
Yeah.
and the attacks have been subtle since we started the MRF. I mean,
Yeah.
sports bikes, that's a pretty blatant attack. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, really? You guys did that? Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're doing it.
Well, ICE vehicles in general are under attack, as you know, like never before.
Yeah.
You know.
I think that beyond uh, the the ethanol, the profiling, autonomous vehicles, uh, I look at some of the things that are coming out of Europe, and a lot of things start in the European Union, and one of them is called um, it sounds Kevorkian, but the Right to Life Directive. Uh, and this is it's not about humans. This is about an end of life directive for motorcycling and how they determine what is what they're going to pull off the road. It's miles, it's age, it's pollutants, it's whatever. And there's a committee that was formed to decide this. Well, what happens in Europe it doesn't take very long to drift across, and one state picks it up. So, oh, that's a good idea. California had the clunker buyback, okay, way back, okay, and this is just another version of it, but it's targeting motorcycles, okay, uh, and these things they're real, and I I know, and I jokingly said this before that my generation, the boomers, are buying their last motorcycles. And what we need to convey to the generation X, Y's, and Z's that if they're going to inherit motorcycling, they have to get active, or they will end up their motorcycles will be gone, and they will end up just looking at pictures of motorcycles or motorcycles in museums or motorcycles that get to roll out every third uh, Saturday or Sunday at a concours d'elegance in Ventura or somewhere, and they're
Yeah.
on the line.
Yeah. The noose just keeps tightening.
It does, and I talked to our staff here, which is probably half my age, and uh, there's a couple of people that are half my age in marketing, and as the MRF, we have to look at how we target the younger generation. They get their news in 15 to 20-second bites. If it doesn't grab their attention in the first 5 seconds, it's not in newspapers. Uh, they're going on to the next thing,
Yeah.
and I mean, the things that I find it interesting, the stuff they're doing on the street. Pretty wild stuff. I mean, a smile, and because I remember we did wild stuff. Okay, I mean, lane splitting in 80, 80, 90. I mean, and the traffic isn't stopped. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Wow, that's pretty dangerous. Well, Okay, I mean, you got a pack, you're running, and we got away with it. They have taken that to the next extreme. I mean, blocking intersections and stuff. But how do you get them to be who they are and understand that they need to join the fight too?
Yeah.
Because they're going to be, our legacy can't end here. Okay, it can't end with one more trip to Washington. Okay, it can't end with okay, we're going to stop this, and pretty soon there's just five of us up there in Washington because there's nobody behind us. Uh,
Yes.
yeah, reaching out to younger members, and even I think as we do this interview, it's I mean, unless you break it up into 45-second sound bites, where's it going to go? I mean, are the guys that are writing there and women that are half my age gonna get it? Maybe if they're doing a research paper, uh, I would like to think they would get it because they can see that collectively we can stand, draw the line, and hold the line.
Together.
And yeah, and
Together.
yeah,
Bring all the writers together, the massive, biggest constituency ever, millions.
and it's not about back in the 70s. There was a guy you may have read, Bob Bitchin.
Oh
Okay,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I remember him.
okay,
Yeah,
hey, okay, good. Uh, he wrote a book, Brotherhood of Outlaws. Okay, and it was about a mass helmet protest. Uh, that was they had tanker trucks and they were going to Washington. I mean, it was just kind of out of an Easy Rider or a American Independent Pictures movie. Okay, we're going to Washington, and he was he had a newspaper and he was a rights advocate. Okay, up until he wasn't. I mean, I think he got into sailboats and probably
yeah.
somewhere in the Bahamas.
He was with one of the magazines, Chopper or somebody.
Yeah,
For a
he was
long.
with Chopper. It was Biker News. I think that was it was it was kind of like the what is it called, the tabloid, it was a tabloid motorcycle newspaper. I mean, it came out
Yeah.
I think every 2 weeks, but he had the uh, biker rights culture in there. Easy Rider magazine. They Lou Kimsey and those guys. Keith Ball was involved in
Oh yeah, Keith.
starting
Yeah,
the first debates. Okay, and I
yeah.
mean, and pull that together. And this was an attempt before the MRF was formed, and it there was a lot of egos involved. Okay, and so nothing happened. You had abates forming up at the state level. You had concerned motorcyclist associations, but nothing really happened on the national level until uh, 3 years after we met in '85 in St. Louis. The MRF was formed, and it was again one issue, the helmet law, and then it went beyond that, and now it's gone even beyond that. One of the things that I look at the industry, we've got a right to repair bill that is part of our agenda. That is every aftermarket manufacturer and every aftermarket shop should be reaching out to the MRF and saying, what can we do to help you get this through? Because this protects the guy that is a 1.5 person shop.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, it doesn't limit the availability of technology. Uh, the two ways to look at it. One, everything's proprietary. Everybody wants money from it. Okay, fine. You don't get anything for free, but you make it available. You make it
Yeah.
available so the guy can still make a living doing this. He doesn't want to work. He wants to own his own business. He doesn't want to work for a big shop somewhere. And I mean, he just, that spirit of ownership is still out there, and this protects those people. Certainly, the aftermarket manufacturers and vendors should be on this.
Yes.
And I'll seg into this. We do two events a year: Meeting of the Minds and Bikers Inside the Beltway. Bikers Inside the Beltway is a 1.5 day event. We go to DC. We meet with Congress. We have appointments. We walk the halls. In 8 hours, it's a 5-mile walk to see as many people as we did. And this year there was 135 of us, and we made it to all 535 offices of Congress with appointments and some without appointments, but they got our position papers. Then our other meeting is called Meeting of the Minds. We're going on our 39th this year in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And it is, we're getting back to the nuts and bolts basic of I would call it biker lobbying 101. How you can be effective at your state level, at the federal level, how our PAC works, how you can as a single person or as a group of people, you can be effective going to Congress, going to your state legislature. And we noticed, we do regionals with the states. There seems to be I would call it a misinterpretation of Civics 101, and there's a confusion between what you can do at the state level, what a state legislature can do, and what a congressperson in Washington can do. And some people, they kind of weave them together, and we have to educate our people to keep them as an effective grassroots lobbying group. And that's what the Meeting of the Minds is. We've got a workshop. No, we've got a panel discussion on the future of motorcycling, and the availability of fuel, and the regulation of how fuel is being regulated, and this is future stuff. And it's for us to start thinking about.
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah, battles they're coming.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming.
Yep.
In a and I have heard it more than once. This is back to when I started riding. I'm in Louisiana, okay, and it was interesting watching the helmet law come into effect. They call counties parishes in Louisiana, and each parish would have or not have a helmet law. So you could cross the Mississippi River into Jefferson Parish and have to wear a helmet, okay? And if you went over to Plaquemines Parish, you didn't have to wear a helmet. So I mean, you had this skip the Maloo helmet laws, and there was a group of us riding one Sunday. We left the west bank of the Mississippi River and rode across we're still in Jefferson Parish, and we were going into Orleans Parish. Sunday, we're going to go see the mayor. Okay, yeah, right, okay. Anyway, we get pulled over we cross one street, and now we're in Orleans Parish. And the cops laugh and say, the mayor's not even there, but if you guys continue riding, we're going to arrest y'all and impound your bikes. I mean, this is a Sunday. And so we turned around and went to Slidell to a bar across Lake Pontchartrain. But that was I would say my first sortie into political activism. I saw the real world. It was the mayor's not there on Sunday, and why are you going to see the mayor? And we're going to arrest you and take your bike.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
crazy.
That's how it was. I mean, you could cross the county line, and then by '69, it was a federal law. Okay, there was helmet laws everywhere except California, Illinois, and Utah. So, but yeah, I would, we're working to pull the MRF beyond being the best kept secret in motorcycling. And, looking back to that first meeting with, I would say 100 at the high side, Russ Brown was there. Russ Brown, I mean, his law office has been around about 10 years. He had a guy was his motorcycle. Russ Brown was a motorcycle rider. Okay.
Yeah, he
I
was.
met him. I met him before the meeting of the minds, that first one, and he was there. I said, "Wow, you're here? Okay, yeah." And he brought his guy was there with him, and that guy became part of the steering committee that helped form the Motorcycle Riders Foundation. And it was Russ was always there. And then somewhere that was 85. By 89, 90, you had competing attorneys. And I mean, things were being said, and would be a long offline conversation, but it put motorcyclist rights advocates in in the middle of this.
Yeah, kind of pitted them against each other a little bit.
It did, and
Yep.
I will tell you this: uh, just a month ago, uh, three of us from the MRF were invited to the National Coalition of Motorcyclists meeting in Phoenix. Okay, that income, and myself, uh, uh, Hardtail, Kirk Hardtail Willard, and Russell Radke, who is our club liaison. And we rendezvoused in Phoenix, and we sat down. There was about 11 of us in a offline meeting to come to an agreement, iron out the differences, come to an agreement on working toward common goals for the greater good of motorcycling and motorcyclist rights. It was I told my guys, I'm going in with an open mind and an open heart, because I was there in the beginning. I was in there I mean, I drew some lines, hard lines in the sand, no, in concrete, and said, we won't cross these lines. And I mean, I believe that there are motorcyclist rights advocates that were misfed a lot of bad information on egos, just not paying attention, not reaching out and listening to somebody else who's right there with you and will be right there with you. Egos aside, attitudes aside, getting getting to the bottom of what we're
Yeah,
here for, to protect the rights of motorcyclists and the future of motorcycling.
that's what needs to be done. You know,
And I don't know, I would I would like to see, and I saw this in Phoenix. I see it at our meetings, that um, we have to reach out. It's my responsibility. You may be what, not a little less than half my age, but we have to reach out to people that are going to be around and riding for the next 20 or 30 years, and
yeah,
even younger people that understand that, you know, these guys really gave up a lot. Did I sell my home to do this? No. But there was a lot of things I wanted to do, but I'm in Carson City. At that time, I don't put on a suit anymore. I mean, I was wearing a suit, a tie. And when I go back now, blue jeans, clean white shirt, and shine cowboy boots. I mean, I'm too beyond the pretense of being somebody that I didn't want to be anyway.
yeah,
So, but it's getting the word out and getting it out to people that I don't even know, they love motorcycling. I would like to believe they love motorcycling as much as those of us who work for the MRF. And we got two paid people, the lobbyist in DC and a staff person who keeps everything in the world in order, membership. Uh, uh, Fred, you got to do this. Fred, you got to do this. Okay, kind of keeps me in line, and the other board members, and that's it. And everything else goes into uh, what influencing motorcyclists to do the right thing about the future of motorcycling and motorcyclist rights.
Well, I hope you can cross the bridge and get those other segments of motorcycling all together with the Harley riders and stuff, and tie everybody together with a bigger voice and get them involved backing this and getting some of the younger blood. I think if maybe some of the people from some of the MRF and Abate and some of the other MROs got out there and actually went as an emissary, you know what I mean, to the meetings, right down to the trials riders, and explain how they're going to be affected by this legislation coming down the pike.
Yes,
it might help.
And I don't know if it's. I'm an old guy, okay. You're going to get an old guy telling biker stories, an old guy that is so fired up he's crazy, and and I know that other than throwing my leg over a motorcycle and riding 800 miles in a day, that may be the only thing we have in common. We need younger emissaries that can get to and I mean, they have different interests. They're not doing the same things we did. I was 29 years old when I got involved in this.
Yeah.
Okay. I knew that this was where I wanted to be for a little while and it would go away. I'm 77 now. I mean, where'd the time go? Hell, I mean, I could have done a lot more riding than I did. And instead of flying to Carson City or flying wherever I needed to be, I could just be out there riding and having fun and doing like everybody else. And it's not to pat myself on the back. It's just it needed to be done. It still needs to be done.
Well, I'll tell you what, I appreciate everything you guys have done, and it's a big sacrifice, and it's took a lot of your life, and I hope that the fresh blood comes in and carries the torch and keeps this going.
Well, I know it will. I really believe in the back of my mind that there will be one wake up call, and wham, it will pull people out that have just been sitting there paying attention, and I've got to do this. And I look, and this is kind of a sidebar. Waco woke motorcycle clubs up. Okay. Straight up. And a lot of things came out of that. That was a political gathering of motorcyclists. Okay. I mean, I looked at that and said the same thing could have happened to us in 1975 when 50 of us gathered in an alley at a back alley motorcycle shop. This was on Front Street in Waco, Texas. And I mean, I look at that and say, I don't believe we're that dangerous. This was an open forum political gathering that was attacked. And I will say that any place on earth, it was attacked and it was wrong. But it was a wake-up call. I don't know if I don't know if all the right people got woke up. I know the people that were there woke up, and they were some of the things that led up to that almost complacency that everything's okay. Now people are talking. They're talking in a world that they didn't talk before. And I would like to believe that the MRF has been a good vehicle for listening and being involved. I mean, we're not a motorcycle club. We're a motorcycle advocacy group, but we advocate for everyone that rides a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, after that incident, that the people in the right place saw what the MRF was doing, and it dealt with profiling. And damn, you guys are doing all this other stuff too.
Yep.
So.
You know what? It's been great talking to you. Yeah, I
mean, this is longer than 15 minutes.
Yeah, we could definitely go on forever, but but it's all relevant. I mean, we really need to. This is stuff that's very important that you're discussing here.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
yeah, and your work is very much appreciated, man. My hat's off to you.
Thank
You
you.
guys are doing a very honorable thing for all of us, and I just hope that some of the people that have the pleasure of watching this video learned a little bit about it, and hopefully get involved. If nothing else, join the organizations just to help back them financially, because it's expensive having lobbyists in Washington and in
And
the states
it
at the
is.
state
It
houses.
is. And it,
You know,
and you would be surprised. The lobbyist we have is a young guy. Got 3 daughters, young, not even in first grade, and he is not a motorcyclist. However, he is a true believer, and I mean, he is our guy. He's been in D.C., works for a larger firm, and he is able to open doors that, in a way that we sort of open, but he opens them even further because he knows their language. He's there
yeah,
every day.
yeah.
Those things are important. Here's an ask for you. Uh, uh, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, in September, September 21 through 24th. Uh, Put it on your agenda. Think about coming back to Pennsylvania to the meeting of the minds. I mean, I think it would be more of a eye opener than just this interview. Uh, yeah, and you're going to be in Sturgis, correct?
I am. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm one of our members is being inducted into the Hall of Fame. And so, I mean, if you can make it to the breakfast there on, I think it's a Wednesday there, mid Sturgis, in Deadwood at I forget what the hotel is called, but it's right there in Deadwood. Yeah, uh, you could see. I mean, we're being recognized. Last year we were recognized as a group, and now we've got another member being inducted into the Freedom Fighter Hall of Fame.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
I mean, and none of us did this to get inducted into a Hall of Fame anywhere. I mean,
No, of course not.
no.
Of course not. Things happen along the way. You don't know what's
Yeah,
going to,
right.
coming.
How did I end up in a Hall of Fame with all these other guys?
Yeah.
Man, they did a lot more than I did. So, yeah.
Right on, man.
I appreciate this. I mean, I would like to think that this would get about 200 million hits, and it's out. It's a little long. It's a little long for the generations that don't get their news in the newspaper. But maybe it can be cut up into 45-second segments.
Well, thank you very much, man. I really appreciate having you on here, and we'll be staying in touch. All right.
Indeed. I've got your email. I'll get you on our hit list, and you'll see what we're doing, especially with the news releases.
Thank you very much. All right,
My
friend.
pleasure.
I'll talk to you in a bit, man.
Hey.
Bye.